Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to June. Welcome to summer. Cadence Campus Live. We have a poll up. If you guys want to go ahead and either go to the website at the top or you can scan it with your code. But we want to know what your favorite Cadence feature is. So fill it out. Let us know. We should start seeing some choices populate in. So as you're coming in, getting comfortable, go ahead and tell us what your favorite Cadence feature is for us. We want some feedback as we kind of do a deep dive into cleaning up Cadence today. We'll be talking about a couple of the features probably as you guys come in. So come on in, tell us what your favorite Cadence feature is. We're curious. Templates.
Total
Love
game
to see
changer
it.
if you haven't used them.
Yeah. It's always important, especially from like FAFSA, making sure everyone's on the same language.
Oh, customer service. Thanks for the shout out. Love to see that. Ooh, out of office and auto reply, smart message.
Lisa chatting in, telling us she likes her out of office replies. It's always nice to get a response. Smart messages. That's the one for me too.
Ooh, viewing message history with the constituent. Lance chatted that one in. That's always
It's good.
a good one too. Being a part of the same team, super helpful.
Getting into the context of what you've been talking about with them over the course of your history with them. That's good. Jenn is brilliant. I agree. Look at
No.
that.
Who planted that one? I don't know.
If you see
Oh,
a Gary, if you
integrations
see a
are a
Gary
total
is
game
awesome.
changer.
If you see a Gary is awesome, that was definitely me. That'll come in.
All those
Customer service, we
NXT
love hearing that
lists
too.
too.
Wonderful. As you're coming in, this is Cadence Campus Live. We want to know what your favorite feature is. So use the QR code or go to the website at the top and then enter in that code. You can even chat it into us too if you want to go ahead and do that. So tell us what your favorite feature is in Cadence. From the tech side, from the chat side, I haven't seen any of those yet. If I had to pick one from the chat side, it's definitely our assigning feature. Yeah, I could talk all day about that, but yeah, tell us what it is. We'll get started in a little bit as everybody kind of pops in. Tell us what your favorite feature is. We want to know. Speed boost from Angie in the chat. Yes, getting those messages out to everybody way sooner. We love to hear that too. Shared inboxes are quick, but they can always be quicker. The expanded character count, that was good too. I love being able to just kind of send them a book if they need if they need it.
Well, when you're having the conversation back and forth, now you have the ability to like send your full thoughts or full,
Uh-huh.
instruction that you need them to do or where they got to go. So much easier.
Perfect. We'll give everyone like couple more seconds just to populate in. Let's see if we get any more responses. But we'll be talking about a couple as we get into Cadence cleanup a little bit today. So welcome to Cadence Campus Live. Tell us what your favorite feature is. We'll give it a couple more seconds, but before we dive in too. So we hope everyone is having a good week. Welcome to the summer. We are hoping that you guys are able to finally get into those projects that you've been putting off for the entire semester, and that you've come down from the spring semester hecticness that the spring semester always is. All right. Melanie, if you want to unshare for me too, I think that's good. I will also be sharing my screen too, so we can kind of get into what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome to Campus Live. If you're new, Cadence Campus Live is kind of a mix-up of a couple of things that we used to have between our newsletter and then also our Cadence Campus boot camps. We wanted to mash them all together and bring together this monthly webinar where we sit down and we talk through some type of use case, some types of behind the scenes of Mongoose, where we can kind of talk through how best to use it and get the most out of it for all of you guys as well. So here we are, Cadence Cleanup. We're going to be talking about how to make sure that your data is always up to date and why that's important, kind of thing. So here we are. Joining me today is not one who is new to Cadence Campus Live, but joining me today is Jenn Diethorn, Client Success Manager here at Mongoose. Jenn, go ahead and introduce yourself for us, for everybody.
Sure. Thanks, Gary. Hey, everybody. Jenn Diethorn, Client Success Manager, currently helping our partner institutions located in what we term as the South. But I've definitely helped a lot of folks from all over Mongoose. Fun fact, I worked on campus for about 10 years before transitioning to Mongoose. And I've been here for about 2 in my role as a CSM. And right before I transitioned to Mongoose, I actually utilized Cadence in so many different fun ways. When I worked on campus for about 3 years. And so got a lot of my start with it pre-COVID-19 pandemic beginning. And that's really when I got to hone in all the different features and how things are formatted in the platform and using it to our advantage, especially during that, insane time that it was. But love to be here with Gary. Gary and I talk all month long about getting folks together, partners together to join us on Cadence Campus Live. I do a lot of the back end work with Gary, and so super excited to be here today. Co-hosting and talking about how we can make sure that your platform is ready and spruced up and tuned up and ready to go for when the students return in the fall semester.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenn. Thank you for joining me today. There are going to be a couple of things that we're going over just to make sure that you guys are always up to date on your data, to make sure that everything is working well, so that you kind of get the best out of Cadence that you can as you're reaching out to all of those students. So I am going to be sharing my screen and kind of walking through Cadence a little bit today, so that you can kind of get a feel for where everything is, how to make those updates that we're going to be talking about, and why everything is so important. So Jenn, my first question to you is some user cleanup 101 kind of thing. So as teams go through turnover or anything like that, what is your best, why is it important to kind of keep those users up to date, and how can you go about editing them?
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of my favorite things to do as the client success manager, especially when we're getting on those Mongoose quarterly review meetings, is talking through who are your current users in the platform, and just kind of reviewing, is there anybody that's outdated, no longer on your team? And if you don't have things like SSO or single sign-on set up for your organization, if you're not being diligent about your users and updating, technically somebody could log in at any point in time and get access into messaging. So there's a couple of different ways to clean up your users. And again, spending some time with your CSM, your dedicated CSM, is a total game changer there, because we can help you by doing a lot of that work for you on the back end. But if you jump into Cadence, you go into your admin permissions on the left-hand side, you'll see that you have your users, and you should see the little 3-dot kebab or the ellipsis on the right-hand side, and you have some options to either edit. So you can go in and see, is there somebody that's taking over that role or that spot? And instead of just deleting out a user, you could repurpose that same account. So you're keeping that conversation history, you're keeping that same phone number alive for those folks that are already used to messaging with that phone number back and forth. And again, so you could go in, update the names, the email address, the user ID, what their permission level looks like. And, if they have access to shared inboxes easily that way. Again, you are more than welcome to delete out the user too. If you go to that little 3-dot kebab, it will show you the option for deleting. Or you could even go in, if somebody is just a base user status, you should have the option to do a caretaker. So what that would do is for assigning a caretaker to an account like we are over here with Aaron, what would happen is it actually blocks Aaron from being able to log in, and whoever you choose to oversee their account, it would actually give them access to logging in as Aaron, managing and triaging any messages that are coming in and out of the platform. So again, folks or your constituents that are messaging that phone number don't have to relearn a brand new number as well too, and you're able to make sure that you are getting back and forth with those students and the communication isn't lost. If you were to just delete out a user, and you unassociate that phone number in the system, once that user is deleted out, that phone number goes back into like the clouds, think of it that way. And we won't know, and you won't know if a student continuously tries to message that phone number that you deleted for that user. Their responses, their questions are just going out into the ether, and there's not a way for you to know, hey, that previous account has some messages in it. That's why, reassigning that account to a new user or using that caretaker status is a total game changer.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question of why it's important to reassign versus just deleting it. And then we also had a question in the Q&A too that said, in the past, removing an old user has removed their names as the senders in the message history. Is that still the case, or does the send data remain for each text? So can you give me an answer for that? I see Ashley is typing diligently, but we wanted to answer that live too. So I'm sorry, Ashley, if you had a nice written out response for that.
Ashley is our support woman in the back end, who I absolutely love her. She's phenomenal. If you have never worked with Ashley, always love to also tote that our support team is 100% female driven. How awesome is that, especially in the tech world? But I know, Ashley, you're probably saying this already. So right now, if you do delete a user out, it will just say, sender or unknown sender in that history portion of that contact's record. But if you reassign it to somebody new, it would tell you that new person's name in those previous histories. So you'll still see it there. The conversation will still live there. The other nice thing is if you have things like integration set up, it should say back in your CRM what that original message, who it was from, what that conversation was there too. Or before you do an edit or a delete, you can always export that history, that conversation history, so you can save who that original person was that was communicating with them back and forth.
Great, thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
So that is all about kind of keeping your users nice and clean. But along with keeping up your users, you also want to keep your contacts up to date as well. So Jen, tell me a little bit about things that our clients can do to kind of make sure that their clients are always up to date, even if they have an integration, but especially if they're doing a manual upload as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely checking out your data management, or if you have an integration set up, going in there and checking out what your fields are looking like that you're pulling into Cadence. Now is a good time to kind of review what are those fields that you're pulling in beyond the first 6 that we have pre-built in for you, and the first 4 that are automatically required in order for someone to exist as a contact record in Cadence. Those 25 additional custom fields that you can pull in is what you can use to funnel and filter your student groups and utilize segments for pointed outreach. And then again, that mergeable field, that's what makes the message look personalized. You can mail merge that information or that data into a text message for a student. So to them, it appears that you took out your actual cell phone and crafted them a one-to-one message. So kind of jumping in here, reviewing, hey, what were those fields that we are pulling in? Are they ones that we have used for segments? Are they ones that we have used for merge fields? Is this information that makes sense to continue to pull in? Or if you're already at your 25 custom limit, maybe there's some that you're not really utilizing, and there's a new field or a new thing that you're tracking about your students that would be a total game changer if you brought into Cadence. So definitely reviewing, either editing or updating. Again, similar to your users, on the right-hand side, you see the 3-dot kebab that I like to call it, or the ellipsis. that's where you can either rename or delete that field to either edit, what that field title is, or remove it so you have a new blank field to pull in.
Great. That was going to be my next question too, is if they're at their 25 limit, let's say, but they want to add something else, but they know that there's other things that they haven't been using, but they would like to. That's not necessarily written in stone by any means of that this is what they have to keep going forward with, right?
Correct. I think that's one of my favorite parts about Cadence is things aren't set in stone forever. With a little tiny asterisk, there are some things, but they're very few and far between. And Fields is one that you can edit and change at any point in time. Maybe when you started with us, there was only 5 or, kind of what you see here, 4 fields that you were like, you know what, these would be helpful to bring in. And maybe now that you've gone through, a couple of months or a couple of years with us, you're like, you know what? Let me unlock more features, more ability in Cadence to help me, manage my time better and be more efficient in the platform. And definitely since we've upgraded segments last summer, making sure that all those fields are being pulled in the right way is going to make your life so much easier.
Awesome. We always are making sure that we're encouraging those personalized messages, and your fields that you're bringing in are going to be the best way to kind of do that, but still have a big level of automation to kind of make your lives easier as well too. So great. Speaking of another way that we can make sure that everyone's contacts are up to date with all of the most relevant information, whether it's their mobile number or their opt-in status. How else can we kind of make sure that, at least from an admin point of view, how can we make sure that those contacts are staying up to date, Jen, when it comes to
Just make
like reports?
Yeah. So if you jump over to reports, you can do some different exports of information from Cadence that could be more helpful for you outside of the platform as well. So, like we were talking before, if you don't have that integration set up, you could, in theory, export out message history. Any of these exports, when you click that button, you'll be able to select a date range that you want the messages to come back as, and it's going to actually email it to you as a CSV file. So then you could save it somewhere, safekeeping at your institution, whether it's like a shared drive or a server or something like that, just so you have that history somewhere. But things like this, the opt-out history, if you don't have an integration set up and you're not tracking that information that's happening in Cadence back to your CRM, this is an easy way to say, hey, I want all the opt-out changes that happened over the last 3 months or last year. It's going to export that information for you. And then you can go back to your CRM and update those student records as needed too. Because maybe they were texting you back and forth and used one of those carrier trigger words. And again, Cadence is stopping it from happening, but you want to always make sure your CRM is the source of truth and with most up-to-date information. So that opt-out history and changes with that is crucial. The other one definitely to review, especially when it comes to your contact records being up to date, is that undelivered messages. That's one, especially with compliance management and all that we've seen with the carrier networks that's been changing over this last calendar year, making sure that you have the right phone number loaded into Cadence for your students. So you're not consistently messaging a phone number that's not accepting text messages, whether it be that it's a phone number no longer in service, or it's, maybe you loaded in the incorrect number. Maybe it was like mom or dad or something like that too. But that undelivered messages is going to make sure that anybody who's actually not getting the message to a mobile phone, you can go back, update. And again, easy way to outreach to those handful of students to say, hey, we don't have an updated number for you. We utilize a system to make sure that we're sending pointed, personalized texts to you. What's a better phone number? What's a great way to get a hold of you? Just so we can get you that relevant information in a different medium.
That's great. That was something that I learned as we were kind of going through our prep meeting, was that if you're sending those text messages consistently to those numbers that aren't in service, or they're not able to get those messages, that the carriers kind of see that and would kind of flag it if you're keeping that up at a consistent basis. So definitely super important that you are keeping your data up to date, so that you know that you're always going to be safe so that you're
Yeah.
not breaking any rules and things like that too. So one of the other pieces that I wanted to talk about from your exports and keeping your data up to date is for our chat clients as well. So a chat export lead is always available to you. So as those chat visitors are coming to you and knocking on your door and looking for some help from your chatbot, but they need a little bit extra hand holding and they want to connect with someone one-on-one, whether it's in a live chat or whatever. All of that information is available for you to be exported or integrated with, so that you have from the source themselves that they're looking to get some more information from you all. So definitely make sure that you're utilizing that chat export lead as well.
One thing I love about our exports that we have here at Cadence is it's never going to be a question of why did I get this information or what do I need to know about this contact. So especially when it comes to like the undelivered reports or the opt-out history or some of the other things you can export, it's always going to come back with an exact reason why. And so like that undelivered messages, it's going to say it bounced because you're getting flagged in their system as spam, or it's getting bounced because that phone number is not a textable phone number anymore. All those different things.
Beautiful. We'd love to hear it. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A or into the chat. We'll make sure that we get those in there as well. So Ashley just dropped some cool contact records for exports. So make sure you read up on that as well. My next question for you, Jen, is about templates and making sure that those are what's important about those too.
Yeah, so templates got a facelift earlier this year, but one of the really cool things that just happened last month is you can now see the last time a template was actually used for a message. So you can see if a template has been outdated, hasn't been used in a while, or you can go in and inspect, is this a template that was used recently, and is the information for that template correct? Do we need to go back and update and edit? Because the other thing that we can do now that happened earlier this year, you can now archive or make inactive certain templates. So then that way, when you're using the templates in the compose window, you don't have a whole laundry list of every single template that's ever been created for your team. You can now archive them, move them over to that inactive side. So then instead of seeing that huge laundry list, you only see the ones that you're going to be using.
Awesome. Always nice to keep a nice clean list so that when you're looking send the template that you're looking to send, you're not picking from a huge laundry list of options, and it'll be right there for you because you want to make sure that you're sending the right orientation link or the right enrollment link for that. Lisa is asking, when was last used added? I don't remember if we have that on hand.
Yeah,
A couple months
it
ago.
happened last month.
Last month.
We're doing monthly product feature releases now in Cadence. You probably have seen that the last couple of months. If you ever go up to the notification bell, you can open up that May 2024 feature releases. When you click it, it's going to show you everything that was updated and changed. And again, that's where your template usage or your last believe. Yep, Ashley had it right too at the 24th. It's going to tell you exactly when that update was. And when you click that hyperlink, it's going to take you to the knowledge base and walk you through the specific steps on how to see that or what to use, which is awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. The last thing that I wanted to make sure we touched on was segments, kind of the bread and butter a little bit of Cadence. So talk to me about making sure that we're using segments and basically all we talked about and why it's so important for this part.
Yeah. Again, segments is the way to make sure that you're targeting the right students for that personalized, detailed message. Mass blast emails, clearly that's why students aren't reading emails anymore. They feel like it was just a mass notification to every student population. Where segments, you can funnel and filter them down into those specific outreach groups so that you know, the 5 students that are receiving that message or the 50 students that are receiving that message are receiving it with a purpose. And again, if you're doing those field updates, unlocking the criteria-based segment, and especially that auto update part of it is going to be a total game changer. So you're not having to recreate those lists every single time.
Yeah, so keeping your data constantly up to date is making sure that you don't have to be constantly making new lists of static segments every time you want to go send something, you can go ahead and use that same segment because as their data updates and the criteria changes for those fields, they're going to be automatically either moved in or they're going to be automatically moved out. So you don't have to worry about them getting the same text multiple times. And it's always great to see. So we quickly built a segment and kind of showcase why it's so important to keep all of this data up to date. So I just had a June Cadence Campus Live little example here. What's great about our segments is that we have a very robust and or logic built into this that's relatively new. So it's always great to kind of be able to get exactly who it is that you want to drill down to and be able to communicate with so that you can add that personalization so you're not sending the same text that doesn't deal with everybody to your entire contact list. So you can kind of see some criteria that we built out here. So entry term equals the fall of 2024. And we want to make sure that they have their application status is either incomplete or in progress. And then we also want to make sure that we're texting anybody that is a program of interest for these two programs here. So you can get very specific. You can kind of give them a little nudge here to either make sure like, hey, saw that you were interested in these programs. We have a marketing update, a marketing info session coming up on this date. Are you interested in getting more information on how to register? Yes or no, those kind of things. Have you already registered for it? So we can always give them a little bump to either finish their application and then more information about that upcoming info session for them too. So as their application status changes because they've now either finished it or whatever it might be, these are all going to change. And then as new people come in, it'll be the same thing. So more people, and then you don't have to worry about the resending that list or the same thing that sending that same text to multiple people. So this is just a little bit of what you can do. Whenever you are making a segment, you can always see how many of those contacts are opted in versus opted out. And then you can kind of see a full list of 50 up to 50 of them that's this going to apply to. So just a quick example here of why it's so important to make sure that your data is up to date so that you can get the most out of making sure that your segments are being up to date as well. All right, Lisa is asking, can you change order of fields displayed on the contact record? So Lisa wants to know when you go into a contact here.
It looks like Ashley's answering that one.
Perfect. We're going to let Ashley tackle that too. So this is where you can always see which fields that you're going to be bringing in, what they're going to be. So it's always nice to kind of keep in track of what you're collecting and using for each of your contacts too. So, and then also here is where you can kind of manage that opt-out history. So if they're not necessarily using their cancel or stop kind of messaging on the carrier level, if they tell you like, hey, I want to be, don't text me anymore, that kind of stuff, you can go ahead and manually click this. And then that way you can always keep that up to date on what their preferences are for you on your end too. So a lot of cool options that you can do right onto the contact. You can also do this right in your messages. None that I can see, but you can go ahead and click right into the message, and then on their visitor details little panel over there, you can click that open and manage their opt-out history right there as well. So we are almost right at time, but Jen, I wanted to ask you one last thing too. So in the beginning, we asked everybody what their favorite feature was in Cadence. I want to know what yours is too.
Sure. I know we talked a little bit about this as we were prepping last week. And I love tags. I think tags are the most creative thing that you can do in Cadence while still being a organized list of folks that need help or assistance or information. You got to get to a different set of different set of people that maybe aren't using Mongoose or Cadence to text students, but you need to get that information somewhere. We were joking back and forth, Gary and I, how it like tags is like a way to massage both my like left brain and right brain at the exact same time. Because I've seen folks use tags in so many unique ways. Like, oh, this is a message. Like I know when I worked on campus, I had a folder in my emails for like all the happy texts, like or to happy emails. Think of like a happy text. You can tag those messages, and maybe when you're having a rough day or something's going on, you can jump in, read through all those different messages and be like, oh yeah, I did help these students. Things are going great. Another one of my favorites that I've seen is like information for, administration, and maybe like, especially when it comes to like advancement folks, you're talking back and forth with an alum, they have a certain thought or feel, you tag it, you track it back, and then that's a list that you send to your VP before they go into like a cabinet meeting or something. So they're aware like, hey, here's the current thoughts and feels that we're getting back from those alumni. Again, I've seen it used so many different ways. And again, it's making detailed, organized lists about your contacts that are pointed in some certain fashion for either like follow up, or maybe that's a list of folks that need updated somewhere outside of the platform, or maybe they need an extra touch point. But what's also cool about tags, you can pull them into segments.
That's a beautiful thing. Being able to kind of text anybody based off of whatever type of feedback, even if it wasn't necessarily something specific that your office or department had in mind, is always a great way to keep that engagement going, especially if they left something fun in your inbox and you want to kind of say thank you or whatever it might be. So a little more of a practical one would always be kind of like you can tag a wrong number if they say this isn't the right number anymore. So you can always tag that, and then you can always run an export on that tag for wrong number, and then you can update it on your end in your CRM too. So that is going to bring us right up to the end of our time. If you have any other questions, you can go ahead and fire them off to your favorite CSM of choice. For a lot of you, that might be Jen. We have plenty of others to go around too. So I want to thank Jen for joining me, because this was a great episode. I hope everyone else found this super helpful. But I want to also remind everybody about the latest episode of For Your Institution, FYI, hosted by Gil Rogers every week. He always sits down with somebody in higher ed, and they talk about higher ed things and the hot gossip. He's had a lot of great FAFSA episodes. He's had a lot of great episodes about harnessing content to engage everybody, harnessing TikTok even. So I always like to joke that I'm on TikTok, but I only do the ticking. I don't do the talking. So don't feel like I'm a good follow. But so along with FYI, those are available every Tuesday, so be on the lookout for the latest episode today. And then also in the upcoming months for Cadence Campus Live in July, a very exciting topic that we have is our upcoming WhatsApp integration, which we are all very excited about. So you'll be able to kind of get a little sneak peek how it's going to work and when it's going to be available. And then upcoming after that is the power of the nudge as well. So if you are ever interested in not only just watching Cadence Campus Live or FYI, and you're interested in participating, please feel free to reach out to us. We want to make sure that you are being heard at a much larger scale, so that we can always get a little more involvement from everybody here too. So I want to thank all of you guys for hanging out with me today as usual. We had a question earlier about being able to make sure they want to be added to the invite list. So once you're registered for one, you're registered for them all. And then all of them are also available on our website. So if you want to go back and look at a couple and maybe even relive this episode, we can go ahead and do that as well. So thank you everybody again for joining us. And we are looking forward to seeing you again next month.
Thanks, everyone.